Hey there, Becky Cortino here. Welcome to LivRad The Podcast, created to inspire living creatively, flourishing unconventionally, the original life hack. So glad you could join me today. This is a new season, followed by a much-needed break to focus on writing and publishing my forgiveness book, Restoring the Broken Places in an Unforgiving World. In this episode, I'm going to give you a peek behind the backstory of writing this book and share with you what I've learned that I think will help you. It took me 5 years of a deep dive study about forgiveness and relationships to write this. 2 of those years I spent trying to figure out how I was going to write this book to best serve my readers. Finally, it was ready to be released, and Restoring was published in the fall of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. Perfect! I say perfect because I absolutely know that this is God's timing on this. Do you know statistics show COVID-19 has negatively impacted personal issues and contributed to relational challenges? Many of us have experienced those. We can all agree these are uncertain times, so many people are searching for hope that they can count on. And they want to regain peace in their lives. Who doesn't? They want to improve their relationships. For more information about my forgiveness book, visit forgivenessbook.beckycortino.org. The response and support for Restoring has been amazing. As I wrote Restoring, I was incredibly blessed with many conversations about forgiveness. Some were faithful Christian friends who confided their personal issues shaped by their own misconceptions and limiting beliefs about forgiveness. For years, it seemed wherever I went, I listened to hurting hearts everywhere share forgiveness stories, seemingly randomly, and a lot because they didn't even know I was writing this book about forgiveness until after they shared their heart, and then I would say, hey, I really appreciate your sharing this with me. You probably didn't know this, but I'm writing a book about forgiveness, and we were just all so amazed. But I heard amazing forgiveness stories throughout this time, because many of the forgiving stories that were shared with me were centered around instances that seemed so improbable, but happened anyway. I concluded, forgiveness really is, as Scripture tells us in 1 John 4:19, the New International Version. We love because He first loved us. So you see, in spite of unforgiving spirits, we're all wired for connection and relationship. It's who we are and how we can do this. And I'm not saying forgiveness is easy. I'm saying forgiveness is possible. And we really are better together. In the telling, I realized these chance meetings were never coincidental at all. In fact, each was a divine appointment to show me another perspective that I needed to hear and to address in this book, and I did. All the stories shared with me fundamentally shaped Restoring, because no person can experience every issue. To cast the widest tent possible and present the case for forgiveness, it was essential to catch a glimpse of different life situations. And this is how Restoring offers a life application approach to forgiveness to the reader. In 20 plus years of ministry work within my community, I've seen most personal problems arise from broken relationships needing grace. These people's problems are not solved by telling beautiful tales of forgiveness, featuring happily ever after endings, and they were solved by applying tried and true biblical principles and making the needed changes in real life in their lives. Never once did any of these sharing hearts, and I heard a lot of them, tell me about a story-filled book that they read about forgiveness that inspired them to do this. The truth is, things happen in this world we will never understand, and when the unimaginable intrudes into our lives, we are always left with choosing how to handle it. Forgiveness is an ongoing process, and everyone has something or someone in their lives needing grace, or be asked for forgiveness. No one is exempt. This is part of the human condition and an inherent component of relationships. There are endless heartbreaking stories of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual abuse, sometimes displayed publicly, and some occurring in the pain-filled, shadowy darkness saturated with silent cries. In that air, the space forever hangs heavy with anguish and futility. Maybe it started with a misstep that no one will ever forgive, or because the despised is just so different. No one knows what to do with them. Or undeniable hatred just spews out in a fiery, flaming words. Perhaps it was nothing at all that the object of vitriol did, except just being in the wrong place at the right time to be transformed into a convenient scapegoat. For some, blaming and venting on others is so much easier than loving. Loving naturally allows a vulnerable spot in the heart that's open to hurt that some people are unwilling to risk. Unfortunately, they don't realize they're limiting the possibility of deep joys and a full life that they could otherwise enjoy. And they're withholding that from themselves. And they don't know what they're missing. Unfortunately, there will be some who will never allow themselves to get to the place to extend grace. Some intentionally withhold grace and suffer their entire life because they couldn't let go of a matter and love radically beyond it. It may take a lifetime to get there, but it's so worth it. You can receive my 9 Truths About Forgiveness by requesting your complimentary copy and find out more about my Restoring the Broken Places in an Unforgiving World by going to 9, that's the number 9 Forgiveness Truths, .beckycortino.org. Life gives us endless opportunities to forgive daily, extending grace in big and small ways. Needs crying out for attention and care appear frequently. A seed of discord may be planted in simple conversation among longtime friends, sprouting doubt, jealousy, anger, judgment, or fear, giving root to a personal stronghold or a wrong perspective. When this happens, the relational divide begins, fracturing a long-held friendship or family tie. When we do this, we permit a wall to be built, allowing the enemy to isolate people who need to hear God's truth, be reminded of His love, and receive needed support of caring friends and family that will help them during difficult times. In so doing, the very influence that we don't want to have around us is enabled to run freely in our life, as well as those we have walled off away from us. We aren't getting away from that evil thing at all. And isn't that amazing to realize that it's still there, no matter how often we think we've removed ourselves from the situation? Forgiveness works that way too. The longer we withhold grace from another, the longer we get to live with the issue. The result is the problem continues to fester and grow, and no one has peace. God wired all humans for relationship with Him. He wants us to have good relationships with others in our lives as well. As His children, we are to live together as a community of believers. Aren't we glad Jesus didn't draw away from the recognized outcast, the sick, and the poor, and that includes the poor in spirit as well, for fear of what others would think of Him? In fact, those were the very people He spent a lot of time with, giving them hope, healing, and sharing God's love and truth to restore their relationship with Him. He is our model for relationship building, restoration, and forgiveness. He is the way and the truth and the light we are to follow, casting out all the darkness, evil, and bitterness. Pray for God to help you recognize the walls that need to be torn down. We all have them. So needed healing and restoration can begin in your life. He will show you how. I'm so glad we could spend this time together today, and for me to tell you just a bit about what I've been working on and how it's been behind the scenes. Coming up next in this new season of LivRad The Podcast, Find out why forgiveness is like walking a tightrope and how to restore life's broken places so that you don't miss out on all of the good things that life holds. You're invited, and I can't wait to share with you what I've learned.